You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
How firm thy friendship. Ohio.
You know what time it is. On brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lames. Yeah, you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. Covered in gray and scarlet, massive, stiff arm to your jaw. We breaking it. We sick of seeing you clowns with the crown. We taking it.
Yo, yo, yo! Sorry for the delay, my peeps. I had some technical difficulties, and our great co-host, my great co-host and friend TG, walked me through it, so I thank you.
No problem, man.
Welcome to the BuckeyeBoyz, where we talk all about Ohio State football, college football. This is a station for the fans, by the fans. And I'm Sean Schrock, your host, with my awesome co-host, TG. How you doing tonight, TG?
Oh, I'm doing well, Sean. And glad I help you get through the technical struggles. Hey, look, anytime y'all need me to help out, I'm here. I know about technology.
Oh, definitely have my back, and it's much appreciated. I mean, I am kind of the older guy on the team. You know, I don't always not always great with this technology stuff. So
That's understandable. Trust me. When it comes down to technology, who do you think my family asks? We used to ask my Uncle Tony, now they ask me.
Hey, I can still remember black and white TVs. I was a very, very young kid, but yeah, I still remember black and white. I'm not as old as my friend Steely Mad in the chat, but you know, we don't call him Gramps for nothing. But I see everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you guys for definitely checking us out and supporting us tonight. We are here to talk about what do you want to talk about, TG? I'm thinking about these new hires that we just added to the offensive side of the ball. What do you think?
Yeah, let's start there. I've heard about him. I love it. I love it. Ryan Day's making the Nick Saban moves. That's what he's doing now.
What I like is he's got, he's got the younger coaches that can connect with the kids, but he's also got these older veteran coaches that are really good with development. And now that you're allowed to have unlimited coaches, you can have, certain coaches specialize on certain things. I mean, some of those tackles might have problems with hand placement. You got guys that specialize in hand placement. You got some guys that are, better at the gap scheme or, power. So, I mean, I like it, and they can relate to everybody on the team. You got the younger coaches that can relate to these younger kids who are, might like to play video games and all the more technology stuff, and you get the older grizzly vets. So I'm kind of pumped up about that. I think Ryan Day's just doing some great, intelligent hires.
I think he's making the right moves. Again, like I said, it's the Saban moves. Saban did the same thing. He just did it on defense. Ryan's doing it on offense. That's all you ever could ask for as a Buckeye fan, is for him to be making these moves. And I think it can be the start of something great here. And I'm not going to lie. I think Ryan Day will be one of the next great coaches we remember for years to come. Not just in Ohio State, but I think one of the great coaches all time. He could become that by the end of his career.
See, I'm just worried because I don't know how long he's going to stick around, honestly. I mean, I think if he wins one or two more natties soon, I think he's got that, he wants to hit the NFL, and I can't blame him because it's not as much. I mean, year round in college, and you don't have to deal with trying to recruit these young kids, and you don't have to deal with the NIL BS. So I can see, and you actually got a down season where you could have a little bit of a life. You don't have that in college anymore.
That's the unfortunate truth about that. But I can see him sticking around longer because I do think Ryan Day does love being the Ohio State head coach, especially because with how things are, I mean, you got the backing around you because it's not like you're at a crappy school like most of these coaches. It's not like you're at that type of school. You're at a school that literally has your back, has the finance. And Ryan Day's created a culture where he doesn't have to deal with all the drama BS. He doesn't have to deal with that much at all. He actually created, I think, the best culture. And this is actually something I want to get into when we get off the hiring topic, is talking about some of these idiots on On3 and all these other places that think because teams are spending money that they're going to become dynasties for years to come without understanding that's not true. Like there's more to being a dynasty than just the money, dude. Spending money on a roster. And again, I already know what the argument's going to be, so we're going to get into that later.
Do they not remember what happened to Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher when he
apparently
when they dropped that big bag down there and everybody ended up transferring, except I think maybe one kid got stuck there because he signed a deal where if he left early that he had to pay back all that money, and he spent most of it, and he didn't have the money to pay it back, so he kind of got stuck staying there. So I mean,
they said if he left early, this means he could leave after like year 2. If he wanted to, he could just redshirt then leave after like year 2. Truthfully.
Shout out to Buck Vader, Doodah Man, Tamara, our boy Mello in the chat, Dietrich Sanchez, Mama Sanchez, thank you for coming in here. Steely Matt, give a shout out to my homie Steely, Taco Ken, all the great regular guys in here who always support us. We really appreciate all you guys, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. Lunatic. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Kangaroo Black last night on his show. I don't know if you ever checked out Kangaroo Black there?
I have. Remember I mentioned him before about him trashing Michigan?
Yeah. Well, last night during his show, Steely and I popped in over there during his live show, and I said, hey, Kangaroo, how about coming on the BuckeyeBoyz? And he was down for it. He even went in and downloaded our page and put it up on the screen and told all his Alabama people to come subscribe to us, and he says he will come on our show. So I thought Spiro moved the needle, baby. Wait till we get Kangaroo Black in here to start talking about Michigan.
How about you and me? You and me, because we got some fun with that one.
Oh man. So I mean, if you guys haven't checked that station out, he's an Alabama guy, but he hates Michigan. And he hates their fan base, and he brings up great points.
You know what's funny is he used to hate us. He just hates Michigan more because they done it to themselves at this point. Like you have found a way to make yourselves even more hated than Ohio State, and it's not because you're a good program. It's because your fans plus you as a program is ignorant, stupid, and you think you're on the level of all these other programs when you hadn't done nothing in 80 years.
Well, the thing is they're so arrogant, and then they want to sit down there and look down their nose at people and try to, they're so hypocritical. That's what makes me laugh, is they're the most hypocritical and arrogant and ignorant fan base by far in college sports.
Dude, they're the biggest set of dumb people there is in the world. I don't typically say it about anybody because people could say, oh, well, that's just a saying. About you don't mean it. I know I mean it about Michigan fans. Like they are some of the dumbest. I'm like, y'all are so stupid. It's ridiculous how stupid y'all are. I've never met dumber people, and not only that, you're a cult. That's what's even more ridiculous. You're a freaking cult. Like as much as us Ohio State fans, we love Ryan Day. We will criticize our coaches when we feel like they're not doing their job. And y'all don't do that at all. If anything, if our program did what they did, do you know how Buckeye fans would be right now? We would be calling for Ryan Day's job at that point. If he knew about it, at least. Now, if he knew nothing about it, I can understand that. But, dude, it's your job to know. So you're still going to get accountability in that because you should know. Well,
and the thing about our fan base, TG, is we hold I know it might not be right. It might be kind of crazy, but we hold our coaches to us a very high standard. I mean, and we don't let it slide.
And we should.
And that's the way it should be. If you want to be great, you hold that standard real high. If you settle for less, then you're going to get less. And you know what? That's why in 50 years, we've only had 2 losing seasons in 50 years. 2 losing seasons. Show me another D1 football program that has only had 2 losing seasons in 50 years.
You can't.
You can. I mean,
like even Bama themselves, and I'm not trashing Bama, but even Bama themselves has had like multiple losing seasons. Because before Nick Saban, who cared?
I mean, they went through
and before Kirby Smart with Georgia, who cared?
I mean, that's what makes me laugh about Georgia fans is before Kirby got there, they had 1 national championship in their history, and they want to claim they're a blue blood. No, you're not.
No, they're a tier 2, but they're not a blue blood. But you're the next tier down, but you're not a blue blood at all in any facet of the way.
You brought this topic up, TG, and let's just dive right into it. And I'm sure a lot of us can talk about it too. But talk about the culture, TG. Go for it, girl. Tell us what you.
The culture is amazing. I love it. It's a culture about brotherhood. It's a culture about perseverance, a culture of integrity, a culture of fighting. Because this is the biggest thing Ryan Day always talks about. You fight for everything. Like this program is also serious about mental health. That's also a part of the culture too. Like Ryan Day makes it to a point where it's okay for you to say that you're not okay. Like I love that about him. This is why I think, players trust him on top of the families, because they see he cares about these kids. That he's not like this cold-hearted coach that'll call them soft just because of it. Like, no, he's serious about helping these guys. At the end of the day, when you talk about Ohio State's culture, this is what I think will help us win national championships for years to come, because having a culture is what's going to help you win natties. Once you establish it, it doesn't matter who you bring in. At the end of the day, it matters the type of person you're bringing in, the type of players, their personality, their character, their integrity. That's what matters. And that's why I love the Buckeye culture. I love what Ryan Day's built here, because unlike Georgia and some of these other schools, we don't need guys getting in trouble off the field to show that we need to win a natty. That's why you have countless other schools saying, after what Ohio State did, saying, hey, get me guys like them. Get me guys like what Ohio State him. Bring me these good young men. For a reason. It's because they are. They're great young men who are responsible. They work hard. I mean, they fight their butts off in the classroom. They fight their butts off in workouts, in training, in everything. They work to earn everything. And these guys aren't just about NIL. They know that if they want to get more NIL, they got to work their butts off to do that.
You earn it.
That's the other thing. They strive to earn what they do. So I love that about Ohio State. That culture. You can't put it into one word, but you can describe it in a multitude of ways of just how fantastic this culture is.
Well, if you look at Ryan Day, look at what he did with Harry Miller. Many might not know who Harry Miller is, but he was a 5-star center. And he come to Ohio State and he had a mental breakdown and he was having issues. And he went to Ryan Day, and Ryan Day basically saved his life being there for him. He didn't care that the kid wasn't going to play football anymore. He kept Harry around the program. He was there for him. I mean, he put all that aside. I don't care if you can't play football for me. I care about you as a human being. And, that's awesome, because these parents, they trust their kids to these coaches. Yeah. I mean, they drop them off at the university and they trust you're going to look after my kid and mold them into not only a good football player, but a good young man. And Ryan Day is not only a great football coach, but he is a great human being. And I am very proud. I mean,
we're so lucky to have him. We're so lucky to have him, having a great human being like that in the program. And as Aaron said in the chat right here, Coach Day is building men, not just football players. Football is going to end one day. And if you have sustained after it, and he's right, because Ohio State also, Ryan Day, there's a reason he gets these guys in the classroom. It's because he wants these guys to have a life after football. That's something he strives for them to do. Once football is over, you have something else in life you can do as well. That's another thing. So he's not just building, and he said it himself. This program is about building men, not just football players, building men for them to handle adversity when they leave, because adversity is always going to hit you in life. Is how you handle it. Especially when you have a family. So you got to learn how to handle it.
And what Deetra Sanchez just said, and Deetra has her son. She trusted her son over to Coach Day, and she said it was very important with how he cared about the kids. So that's just proof right there.
It's not like Brian Kelly at LSU, because you see the stories about this dude. He got a kid killed by going up to like a little something to film the practice from above or something like that, and it was dangerous for him to do it because the wind was blowing over, and he did not want to fall. That kid basically fell and died. The problem was
he didn't have. When you're in one of those man lifts like that, and I know because I am a certified union heavy equipment operator, that you cannot operate one of those without a safety harness. And that kid was supposed to have a safety harness on, and that in that man lift, and when they lifted it up so he could get a view, it was really windy. They shouldn't even. That's
why they shouldn't have been up there, because it was really windy. Because otherwise he could have died, and he did. And that's one of the worst parts about it. And, it's something that really blows me about Brian Kelly. And on top of that, you hear the story about what happened with that other LSU kid at the end of getting like a brain tumor. Like, it was so, I'm like, this bright, bro, I don't understand. With Philip Morgan, especially, like, girl, recruiting's not going to be good up there because parents will not trust their kids around Brian Kelly. Because with the fact that he killed a kid and then literally doesn't even care for this other kid that got like a brain tumor, like he pretty much blew off the fact that this kid was legitimately not feeling well. If that happened at Ohio State, Ryan Day would have been the first one to say, get this kid to the hospital, make sure he's good, because he's not finna put this kid out there to play. Like, if he feels like if he can see these kids are like legitimately hurt, there's something wrong, he's gonna sit them down for their own good.
Sure.
Like, this is what you can't say about Brian Kelly or any other coach. Like, you can say that about Day, and I think that's something that really draws parents to Ryan Day, at least good parents.
Well, look at the Georgia game in the in the playoff game. They had to take Marv's helmet and lock it up and hide it from him so he wouldn't jump back in the game. If Ryan Day just cared about winning and that was it, he would have put that helmet back, gave the helmet back right to Marv and sent him back in the game and said, winning's more important than your health. Get back out there. But no, he didn't want to risk, Marv getting seriously, injured. Concussion's not something to screw around with. So,
yeah, that's the other thing, too, because I think that's what he tried to do with Will Howard. Will Howard said, F that, I'm finishing this. Because it's not like it wasn't as bad as Marvin's, but you can see he wasn't right. So Ryan Day, like, literally, and especially because I don't think he felt comfortable. Like, he wanted to put Devin Brown out there, but it's like, you don't want to like risk Will Howard's health. So I could see the fact that he was trying to win that game off field goals because he didn't want to risk Will Howard's health even worse, which you got to applaud Ryan Day for even trying to get Will Howard to sit down. And like I said, I applaud Will Howard the same way I would applaud Marvin. Like, y'all don't give a damn that you're concussed. You give a shit about your team and about your coaches that much that you're willing to put it all out on the line. But your coach cares about you that much to a point where he is literally not trying to get you hurt.
Yeah.
Gotta love that about Ryan Day. That's the best thing about him.
And I think we have gotten really lucky this is a university Ohio State has, from bringing Jim Tressel in, then you go to Urban Meyer, and then you hand it over to Ryan Day. What a run of coaches. I know Luke Fickell was in there, but
he was an interim coach.
He was an intern coach, and he got it kind of thrown in his lap. I really don't count that.
To be honest, it was so close. He could have won some games. Like, if you go back to the 6-7 season, there were games we literally could have won, but we didn't.
He had, basically one hand tied behind his back the whole season.
Yeah, because we didn't have the talent. I'm not going to lie, though. When you watch that 2011 season, you can't tell me it didn't give you hope about Ohio State if they hire the right guy. Because I don't think Luke Fickell was ready for a head coaching job. He wasn't ready. So it's like, I can't put that on him. Top of the fact that, like, I think he is a good coach. Like, undoubtedly, in my mind, I think that Ohio State was set up for the future pretty beautifully. We just needed to get a head coach in there and a even good coaching staff to make sure that everything. Because when you looked at the talent on that team, you couldn't tell me you weren't, like, hopeful with the talent.
What was sad, though, is if they wouldn't have suspended all those kids, they would have won the Big Ten again.
Pretty much.
Posey, Pryor, Rob, they had all those linemen that got suspended. The one good thing that happened, though, is Braxton Miller got a year under his belt to play.
Yeah.
You could go back to his freshman year, and it was kind of like, reminds me of what Michigan State went through with Childs this year. You throw a 18-year-old kid out there with a lot of raw ability, but, you're going to a higher step of competition, and there's going to be flashes.
Adrian Childs showed flashes. He did make mistakes, and that's great. And Tyler just literally said we sustain success forever, and you can stick it in Michigan's crawl, basically. And he's right, because it's true. Because Michigan's never sustained this kind of success. Like I said, it took 80 years for them to do anything.
Now, one thing I want to ask you, TG, were you surprised that Luke Fickell got an extension like he did?
Actually,
an extension.
I can see where people are surprised, but I'm not, because I think we're in an era where you do need a coach like Luke Fickell to stay there, because you're going to have people want to poach your roster, want to poach your coaches, even though that's going to happen anyway. It's like, it's probably better for you to stick. And I think they do believe Luke Fickell can be a great coach. I actually think Luke Fickell has the roster, because I went back and looked at his team. I said, oh, they really weren't bad. They were just missing quarterback. If if he could find himself a quarterback, if he could get it right at quarterback, he could have a pretty good season. Because you got the receivers, in my opinion, and getting Jaden Ballard definitely helped. Because I don't like Jaden never put it together at Ohio State. That happens. Not everybody works out, so he might end up going, the distance at Wisconsin. I hope he does do well, to be honest. But yeah, no, I'm not surprised entirely because I do think Wisconsin wants Luke Fickell to be around. Because again, I think Luke Fickell is a great coach. I do.
I just think the problem is their offense, man. They never get.
Yeah, that's the thing. They never get
those playmakers. They never get those explosive playmakers. They always have the line. They always have the good running backs. Like you said, their quarterback last year got hurt in the Alabama game, and that was all she wrote for them. But they don't have. I mean, with the NIL now, go down south to Florida or Texas, throw bags of money at some of these fast playmakers. Get yourself a couple of them, man. And I could see them really. If he could do that, just get a few outside threats, man. That team could be cooking.
Yeah, and I'm actually happy with Mrs. Sanchez's comment here about how happiness is born for a son, basically. I love that. Then Terry says it's getting harder to keep college coaches around. So many are going to the NFL. It depends on where they're going, though, because again, I think Ohio State could keep the coaches we have because we have schools like Bama, schools like Georgia, schools like Ohio State could keep the coaches around is because they have the ability to do so because they have the what do you call it? The Sean, help me out here.
They got the money to do it. I don't know.
The resources.
That's the resources.
Better. They got the resources to do it, and they can do that. At least schools like Boston College aren't going to be able to do that because they ain't got the resources. Schools like that is what. And plus, you do have NFL coaches widespread that are willing to take a step down to college to Ohio State. That's actually what I found out. It's because of what Ryan Day's building here. So it all depends on the program they're going to.
Hey, Mama D, if you write that book, I guarantee you, if we're still around, if we're still doing this podcast, you can come on and I will promote the heck out of it for you. And I will, anything we can do to help push that book. And I can't wait to read it because it will be an awesome read. She's going to write a book about Devin's experience in recruiting.
Ooh, that's great, actually.
That would be awesome to read.
I would too, myself, if I can actually afford it. Yeah, not saying I'm broke, but I'm like, I ain't got money like that, yo. But yeah, no, when you really think about it with Ryan Day, and we can pretty much slide right into the whole conversation about the NIL, because one thing people keep thinking is because the constant narrative of the $20 million roster at Ohio State, it's so driving me crazy. I'm like, you idiots, because think about the top 5 schools in both, in recruiting and portal. Oregon and Michigan are in there. Texas A&M, I think LSU's up there, and there's like another school, Texas Tech. These are schools that are like in the top 5 in both. So it's like, it kind of drives me crazy when I'm hearing about this, when people kind of bring up what Ohio State did. And it's like, guys, do you not understand how Ohio State did it? Do you not understand the validity into which they did it? What I mean is, Ohio State may have spent $20 million, but it was to keep roster retention. It's guys who've been on the roster for 4 to 5 years, guys who've been here. And the other part of the money, like Ohio State got like 9 dudes out of portal. 3 of them were walk-ons. The 6 of them were scholarship players, but the 2 scholarship players, they didn't spend that much money on. They only spend their money on 4 dudes. Seth McLaughlin, well-deserved, by the way. They did not buy what happened in Alabama. As a matter of fact, what we found out is at Bama, they actually, the snap issues was Jalen Miro's fault.
Yep,
actually,
exactly.
It was. And then Quinshon Junkins, he was the best running back in the country. Him and Travion were both the best running backs, and he's the number 2, and they needed somebody to take the load off Travion. 3, Caleb Downs. Please do not tell me the dude's not worth the money that Ohio State's paying. Best safety in America. I'm sorry. Don't even start there. Will Howard, they paid $1 million. Why? Because they see in him what nobody else saw, which was they knew he was a NFL type of player. They could see it in him. He just did not have the coaching.
Well, what cracks me up is we got clowned for taking Howard. Everybody made fun of Ohio State. They clowned us for taking McLaughlin too. Oh, he had fumbling problems. He's horrible. What'd he do? He won the Remington for us. I mean, the kid was awesome. He didn't have any snapping problems this year at all. But guess what? Down in Alabama, they still had snapping issues. So,
Yeah.
like you said, we saw really who was, at fault for it. And, Quinshawn reached out to Ryan Day and asked Ryan Day about coming here. If a guy like Quinshawn Judkins calls you on the phone, are you going to tell him no?
Nah, because Ryan Day was serious about bringing somebody else in, bro. He was serious about that.
Come on, people. If Ryan Day, Ryan.
And by the way, don't forget the narrative that came out about Quinshawn. Oh, he's a locker room cancer. Like, bro, we found out that wasn't true. If anything, like we actually tend to find this out from like former Ole Miss players like Tywan Malone, David Benosin, Quinshawn Judkins, and others. That, bro, it's a night and day difference being at Ohio State compared to Ole Miss. Like, they love it here way better than they ever loved it at Ole Miss. They freaking hate Ole Miss.
Well, what's funny too is McLaughlin said, the camp was tougher at Ohio State than down in Alabama.
That's hilarious.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's to hear that. That's awesome to hear.
That's funny because remember how all these people talk about how the SEC's tougher and all that, and then you come to find out that up here in the North at Ohio State, man. But like I said, like North fans, they freaking hate Ohio State for the right reasons, to be honest, because we're a good team and we're the only threat to their conference. That's for starters.
But if you look on our roster this year, there was 3 starters in the national championship game, and you can 3 guys that were transfer portal players that weren't developed at Ohio State. And I had, a fourth with Judkins not being a starter, but being a big part of the offense. So there's 4 guys that weren't developed at Ohio State. And one of them's Iggy, but Iggy kind of got developed here because he came here after a year of being down there. So it's not like, we picked Iggy up as, a 5-star, paid him a bunch of money to come here.
Yeah,
at the time, nobody was. Because when we got him, not many people were saying much about it. It didn't really make big headlines when he came here at the time.
Yeah, Judkins saying Ohio State's different. It's not for everybody. Yeah, that's true. Ohio State isn't for everybody. It's for a certain type of people. It really is.
Yep.
It depends on who you are. Like, and that's what's so great about it, if anything, about Ohio State is Quinshawn was ticked because he was the workhorse and they kept feeding the quarterback NIL, all the NIL, which I find to be pretty stupid. Like, why would you be doing that?
I mean, that kid took a beating down there too, and he still. I mean, then Kiffin wanted to trash him after he left. I mean, come on, grow up, man.
No, he's mad at especially because he went to Ohio State, the one place he does not like. But it's like, dude, you did it to yourself, you idiot. You didn't want to pay him. Ohio State did, and then they went off and win the Natty, and then you're sitting at home and doing jack squat. So that's on you, dummy.
Look how much Ole Miss spent in the portal, and they were crying about Ohio State spending money. I mean, Ole Miss. Talk. I mean,
dude, they can't talk. It's them and Michigan are 2 of the highest spenders in all of college football right now. Like,
them are two of the people that are pointing the finger at everybody, though. Oh, develop, not bought. I'm like, you guys brought in more players than we did, and you still spent $16 million on a roster that won you, 6 games, 7 games this year?
Yeah, it's hilarious though. But be honest, because it goes back to what I said. Like Oregon, they got that too. They're one of the top spenders. Like all these teams think that spending money. Like if you can't see how Ohio State did it, because it's not the fact they just got the best players. These guys fit their culture and they wanted to come here. They did, and Ohio State paid them because they're worth it. Like you can't tell me they weren't. Again, it's only 4 players they paid good money to. Like the rest of the players still got paid good money. They just didn't get paid as much as the guys we did bring in. Like, do y'all think Julian Sand got all that money? No, heck no. Like, no, he did not care about the NIL money. Ohio State gave him a good NIL package, but they didn't pay him a lot of money. They want to see him prove it on the field first, if anything.
Mello makes a great point. Kiffin spent all that money on NIL, and they still couldn't make a 12-team playoff. What's
pretty hilarious, right? Program? What does that say about you? And then it's like, think about it. Again, when you talk about Ohio State from that standpoint, it's like, again, you got to build a culture. Like Oregon, Michigan don't have a culture. Like Oregon is a threat to Ohio State, but until they find a legitimate culture, I can't say they're going to win a Natty, because when guys just go to your program for money, and you saw with Texas A&M, when you get hit with adversity, they can't handle it. And more importantly, they know they can pimp you out of money. Like Michigan is a school where any kid can pimp these idiots out of money because they're that desperate. And on Buckeye Scoop, they're going to talk about massive news about Michigan, which I cannot wait to see because I'm interested to seeing about this whole what they found more in this cheating scandal, because this is what's going to be super fun, is watching that program get hit with bullets. Because no matter what people say, the NCAA's out for blood, man. Y'all have disrespected them for so long. They don't tolerate that. If anything, they're going to hammer you worse than they did USC. And USC did the same thing y'all did, and they did it a billion times less. Like, there was nothing that USC did is anywhere near as bad as what Michigan did. And they hammered them badly.
They're going to have Spiro on tonight. If anybody has any issues about Spiro, let me tell you, the dude is spot on. He's got legitimate sources. Anytime one of those boneheads from up north try to discredit him, he burns them.
Yeah, those are the only ones. Those are the only ones.
That's why none of those guys will have Justin Spiro on their shows, because they know that they will look like morons for having him on. And anybody who sits here and calls Spiro a fraud or a moron, I mean, I've seen a couple people do that in other chats. I'm like, you guys
they're not.
You have no clue what's going on. Spiro's an honest guy. He's a good guy, and he has all the receipts. I mean, years back that he keeps pulling up. Follow him on X, people. Darko News. Justin Spiro, I tell you what, you will love what you read. The guy's always posting good stuff.
Yeah, to be honest, I do think he loves. I mean, let's be real. Ohio State, Michigan State, they both don't love Michigan.
No,
they both hate them. Like they have no beef with one another, but they both hate the same two people.
Well, see, they had a common coach there, Mark D'Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was here at Ohio State for a lot of years, and he helped Trussell and that team win that 2002 title. And then he went to Michigan State and became the coach, and he was taking a lot of people out of Ohio. A lot of kids that Ohio State would pass on, for the 3-star kids that kind of were borderline that Ohio State might pass on. He would bring them up to Michigan State and develop them, and then every 2 or 3 years he had a good team.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. When going back to the whole like the transfer portal and all that, like I get that Ohio State has talent, but they also develop like 3 stars.
Yep.
That's the other thing. Like, I keep hearing people in the media talk about how good Michigan is at developing 3 stars. Do you niggas know these motherfuckers ain't even in the top 20? And I'm sorry for cussing if anybody hears that, and I apologize to God for that too. But dude, these guys are barely in the top 25 at sending 3 stars to the NFL. You know who's number 1?
Ohio State.
Exactly. And then number 2 is Alabama. Like it's the 2 schools that are known for taking 4 or 5 stars, and yet they're the best. That's how you know development is real here, when you see 3 stars.
But yet we hear, I heard the Bozo Brigade from Michigan try to say we stink at developing offensive linemen, defensive linemen. Larry Johnson's put more people in the NFL from his defensive line than Michigan has in the last 30 years. I mean,
pretty much.
Shut up.
It's not even just that too. Like, dude, look at which team has the most defensive and offensive linemen in the NFL starting and have some of the highest paid. It's Ohio State, dude. Our players. And I can go back to Michigan's 2024 draft class, dude. You had 13 guys drafted. 8 of them got cut. You only got 5 guys like left on the roster. And guess what? Soon it's gonna be 4. Because I can tell you Zach Zinner is going to get cut at some point.
He's horrible.
I promise you.
I'm a Browns fan. I'm a Browns fan, and he's horrible.
He's trash. He's a trash offensive lineman. It's like from Michigan. And again, this is why a lot of people, when you think of the scum cheating scandal, you can't help but think they did, because it's like, how are your players this freaking bad? Like Mozzie Smith, the D tackle on the Cowboys. Dude, again, I'm not going to be surprised if the Cowboys cut him before his contract's even over. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if they don't re-sign his butt, because he stinks.
Honestly, the only person that's flashed from Michigan from the last couple of years in their draft is Aiden Hutchinson.
Pretty much.
I'll give it up to him. He's a stud. Give it up to him. He's a great player.
He's a good player. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Ohio State's, but he's
no. But I'm just saying he's legitimate, and my hats off to him.
He's legitimate, but it's like again, I think he's a great player, but he ain't Nick, he ain't Joey. I don't even think he's JT or Jack, because I think both of them are better than him. No offense, I don't care.
Well, what's funny is we heard all this. Well, look at what Harbaugh and Minter's doing. Minter's changing the NFL, and look at what happened when they ran into CJ Stroud.
They got
the playoffs without having help. Again, without having help, JT Stroud destroyed Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, and look
Destroyed
at what Melo said. Nico Collins, but that's because of CJ Stroud, which is true because Nico wasn't nothing as an NFL wide receiver. He didn't.
I heard some Michigan people try to say, "Oh, Nico made CJ."
No, bro, he's been in the NFL longer than CJ, and this nigga didn't do nothing. He was a bum, and then CJ comes along and makes him a top receiver. Come on, man. If he was that good, he would have been a star receiver. He would have been at the level in which you see the Ohio State receivers right now. He wasn't. Like, bro, get real here.
Hey, Melo brings up a good point, man. I'm happy too that D'Antonio is not still at Michigan State because I tell you what, he did something Harbaugh couldn't do. He beat Urban Meyer. Not once, but a few times. I mean, he gave us fits when he was up there. And he beat that 2016 team that should have won another natty. Sure, Ed Warner was a moron calling plays, but they still beat us.
Who?
Michigan State that year.
Oh, yeah, okay. And also, look at what Mega says. Howard and QQ, a.k.a. Quinshawn, were 3 stars. Ohio State has been D-line U for 2 decades, which is true. And we've been a bigger O-line U than Scum for the same time period as well, which is true. Like, we've been doing this longer than them. We've been better than them. We've done more than them. We've been the better program. And they want to beat us. I mean, remember that whole interview that J.J. McCarthy did regarding the cheating scandal? When I realized that he threw that program under the bus, saying that we did all that to keep up with Ohio State, I'm like, dude, first of all, you're admitting you cheated, and you're basically admitting you knew. And secondly, the whole program got thrown under the bus because you're basically saying you had to do that to cheat. You had to cheat to beat Ohio State to keep up with where we are. And then it's going to send your program back even further down.
Well, what's funny is they only had one person off that team. One person off that whole team get taken in the first round. One. And we only had 4 guys get taken last year in the draft, and we had Marvin was way ahead of JJ McCarthy in the draft order, and he had a better year. I mean, granted, JJ got hurt, but I still think he's going to be a flop in the NFL.
No, he's going to be a flop because he's not a good quarterback. Like Jim Harbaugh can't develop quarterbacks for nothing, and yet you played the position, nigga. How you can't develop it? That's what's so ridiculous to me. Is how are you not able to like legitimately develop quarterback? Like Ryan Day played the same position. He's developed.
Yep.
He's developed quarterbacks. Like, what is your excuse?
I tell you what's got me excited is back when I was younger, Ohio State used to be linebacker U. It's kind of fallen away.
Not entirely, because you still got like linebackers performing well. It's just that when they are in college, they're not doing well. But when they get to the NFL, they're different. They weren't
the All-Americans like we used to have. But I tell you what, Laurinaitis has brought that back. Because I'm telling you, the guys that we got coming in next year, even the freshmen, I mean, we still got, Sonny there. We got Arvell. I can see those 2 being up for All-American honors. Then you're going to have Pettijohn, TJ Alford, Eli Lee. I mean, we got a heck of a linebacker room.
Yeah, Karras also said, I think he's talking about Jim Harbaugh. He was trash as a Bears QB as well. But the Bears QBs are like the only good QB they've had in a long time. And they had a chance with Justin, but they screwed it up so many times.
I'll tell you what, though. I have a little story about Jim Harbaugh that I heard. It's kind of a funny story to tell you what kind of a fraud Jim Harbaugh is. When he was a quarterback in Indianapolis, after a game, they won the game, and Harbaugh was standing in front of the reporters, and he goes, "Well, I just want, if it wasn't for Jesus Christ and God, we got to give them all the praise." The linebacker of that team, the team captain, grabbed Jim Harbaugh by the throat, shoved him in the lockers, and told him to shut his mouth, that he was a fraud, and he knew that he didn't believe that. And if he ever said anything like that again, he was going to beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's why I'm shaking my head, because that's what he is. Like, right here, Doodah Man, a.k.a. Mark, Doodah Mark Man, he said, Harbaugh, don't lie, cheat, steal, LOL. He does. You know what I mean? Like, laugh out loud, that's what he said. So basically he does. And that's all he does. Like, dude, you gave your soul to the devil, dude. You basically are everything that God hates. Him and his son Jesus.
What's bad is his little brother's a way better coach than he'll ever be. That's
because he actually worked his butt off, and he didn't get handed the job because of his last name, unlike his big brother, which is what's sad.
Well, look at he was feeding Jim defensive coaches to try to help him win. I mean, he knew Jim was going to get fired. So, I mean, he gave him McDonald, then he gave him Jesse Minter.
Because he was afraid for his little brother.
Yeah,
He was afraid,
exactly.
and not a little. I'm saying little brother, but that's basically what Jim Harbaugh is to John Harbaugh right now.
Yeah.
You're the little brother, bro. You ain't doing nothing.
And they say, how Ryan Day was born on third base. What was Jim Harbaugh hatched on home plate? I mean, come on. The only reason he got coaching jobs is because of his daddy. So let's be real here.
Let's be real about that one. And then someone said, okay, here's Mega. If we are developing into QBU, then scum is hand off you. Which is true. A QB's worst nightmare when trying to play in the NFL is playing for scum. It's still pathetic to me how hard scum fans cling on to Brady. You guys don't cling. Like, yes, you cling on to him just because he was part of your school, but you never gave a damn about him until he became the quarterback he is. So F off all the way, bro. Y'all ain't done nothing.
Tom Brady didn't go back for 20 years because he had such hard feelings about the way he got treated there. They booed him off the field, and they wanted Drew Henson, their local hero from Michigan, the hometown hero kid that was a great high school football quarterback up there. Drew Henson, the biggest recruit they got out of their state in a long time. They wanted him to be the starting quarterback, and they actually made Brady give snaps to Drew Henson during that year. And they booed Tom Brady. Now they want to claim, he's the best player ever.
He's the best. Let me tell you this. He's your best quarterback in the NFL ever, but when he played for y'all, he won. And I'm going to tell you this. The only reason he became the quarterback he was is because of Bill Belichick. And even he said the same thing. No matter how much people want to spin that narrative. Bill Belichick, he always says Bill Belichick built a structure and a system around him that allowed him to develop into the quarterback he became. So people can kind of F off with that.
I think it's funny that Lloyd Carr sent his grandson to Notre Dame and not Michigan. Lloyd Carr's grandson is a great quarterback prospect. Instead of sending his kid to Michigan, he had him go to Notre Dame. So what's that say? You know?
Tamara, I literally said that early in the show about these guys. And then Carrot says she wants Sawyer to go to the Bears tournament. No, I'd rather him go to the Lions or go to the Green Bay Packers. I do not want him going to that crappy ass dumpster fire garbage called the Chicago Bears. Keep him as far away from that garbage organization because they will ruin his career. And I will never, ever, ever want an Ohio State player with the Bears ever because they screwed up with Justin. They will screw up with Jack Sawyer. They will screw up with anybody they get because they're a dumpster fire who can't get it together. And I don't care that Ben Johnson is the head coach. Caleb Williams, and when we get an NFL show, we can talk more about that, will be a freaking bust, the biggest bust of all time. Because I will never understand why people kept hyping this idiot up for anything.
I want Will to go to the Browns. Come on, Cleveland.
Yeah, I would say this. I'd rather Will Howard go to the Browns than the Bears because the Bears are a dumpster fire joke of an organization.
Oh, so are the Browns, unless they get rid of
No. Let me tell you this: they are a joke, but they ain't where Chicago is right now. Like they're just a freaking Chicago is the biggest joke clown show on earth, more so than the Browns, because at least the Browns made the playoffs.
Yeah. Now, one last thing before we get off here. I know we touched about this the last show, but a lot of people are really worried about Matt Patricia killing the culture because they're saying he's a culture killer from his time in Detroit, that there were some guys bad-mouthing him. But I tell everybody, please go watch Julian Edelman's podcast that he had with Matt Patricia. And I think you guys might get a different take on it. And Bobby Carpenter also said Matty P was a great coach. He played for him in New England and that he was the smartest coach that he played, a very smart coach. So what are your thoughts before we get out of here, TG?
If everybody wants to know if he is worried about Matt Patricia being a cancer to the culture, see a case in point Jim Knowles and all the stories you've heard about him, where it's literally been like the players freaking hated Jim Knowles. The freaking coaches did not like Jim Knowles either. But guess what? They played hard and they still stood together. They didn't care how much they didn't like him. They still played hard for their head coach, which tells you how much they love Ryan Day. So if they could get through an entire season of them not liking Jim Knowles, especially the defensive line, because they flat out hated Knowles. I'm telling you straight up. I don't think Matt Patricia is going to be a cancer culture or whatever, or culture cancer to the culture. I don't think he will be, because again, I don't think he will, and I honestly think he'll be great, to be honest. Oh, and by the way, Melo, I do not want him signing. until the Giants get their ish together, I don't want Justin signing with the Giants. I don't. Like, until they get it together, I don't. I honestly would rather him stay in Pittsburgh just because at least you got a floor there. But
Well,
I want or the 49ers or the Rams, because at least you got something there.
Here's what I'll say is, Patricia, do you guys honestly think Ryan Day would bring somebody in to this coaching staff and into this program that would hurt the culture? I don't. You dang well know he did his research on him. He met with him. They also had Coach Walt and Matty G sit in on the interview process too. So
they had all the coaches sitting in.
All the coach. I mean, they have spent all this time building up a culture, a very strong culture in that program, and he's not going to bring anybody in there that will hurt the culture or the program. So, and I tell you what, I think he's all earned our trust with all the hires he's made. If somebody doesn't work out, Ryan Day, within a year of that guy not working out, he's gotten rid of him, and he's made the hires that he's needed to make. So I do think, it's going to work out fine.
Okay, Mello asks, will Hero Canoe transfer back in the spring portal? I think there's a chance he will. I do.
That would be something, because I heard he left because he was scared they were going to do a lot of 3-man fronts and he was going to be out of a position. So
yeah, well, Matt Patricia, they're only going to do it like here and there if it fits. When it fits the scheme, they're not going to do it just because.
No.
Like, again, this is actually the biggest reason why, like, Jim Knowles wasn't going to work out, because he didn't know how to adapt to personnel very well. He had to get stronger arm to doing it. Like, it was kind of funny. And Mello, I get what you're saying, but like I said, I don't trust the Giants for nothing with a guy like Justin. Now I would trust them more than I would trust the Bears. Like, I'd rather, if you're telling me between the Bears and Giants, take Justin to the Giants, please. please. Like, literally, anybody but that garbage organization. Because I feel bad for his career, and this guy needs stability. And the problem with the Giants is they're not stable right now. If they can get stable to a point where they can, like, I can trust them with JF, go ahead, man. But I want Justin to have a successful NFL career where he has weapons around him. He has actual excellent coaching. Because let's be real, the only set of anything regarding great NFL career that he had was during his time at Ohio State. That was it. Like, he's never had NFL talent around him the way he did at Ohio State. He has had NFL coaching. That's what sucks about that whole his time in the NFL. And people steady were blaming him because they don't like him for whatever the reason. I don't know what about Justin makes you not like him. I don't know what is wrong with these people.
He's a great kid, man. Great.
I would
kid,
never
great
understand.
player.
That's exactly what I'm saying. He's like, why do you guys hate him so much? Is it because he's not your type of quarterback? That would be my only reason, because you guys like Trevor Lawrence. But Trevor Lawrence sucks worse than Justin Fields by a mile.
Hey, guys, we are going to get out of here because in a couple of minutes, Scoop's going to start. So we want everybody to be able to go over to Scoop tonight and watch Justin Spiro. I recommend, even if you don't like Scoop, please go over there and let's show Spiro some support, because dude came on our station and really helped us out. And he's a great dude, great friend of the show. We're going to be doing some more videos. We're going to start doing some videos. All of us are, besides the shows we're doing. So that's going to be coming in the future. I have some players I want to interview, and going to have TG help me out in that aspect, and be doing some other stuff too. So a lot of stuff coming up. So again, I want to thank everybody for supporting us tonight, coming in and chopping it up with us. Anything else that you'd like to say, TG, before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm actually excited about this, about the Ohio State in 2025. I think we have a chance to repeat. And by the way, Andre, I'm going to let you know, my favorite team has always been the Chiefs for me growing up. I do have other favorite teams I look at, but the Chiefs were always my first favorite. Like Eagles, Pittsburgh, I had those as my favorite teams. But yeah, I can't wait. And I don't think, and again, I'm gonna pretty much remind everybody, scum for the next set of years won't be good, no matter how much people want to talk about the recruiting they're bringing in. It's because of money, nigga. It's not because they're bringing in, like, no, it's because of money. And once the sanctions hit, those kids are leaving because they don't give a F about Michigan. They don't care. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, when me and Sean kind of start having a little bit of an NFL show and we can go more into the NFL, we'll give you guys like the update and pretty much our thoughts and our pretty much the facts about NFL, about certain teams, about everything, because it's something you're going to need to know about, because most of these places like the freaking ESPN, even Fox to an extent, it's like you have some of the dumbest people covering it. So y'all need some legitimate information here. So just come back here. We can talk about it more if y'all want.
Well, guys, I hope everybody has a great night tonight. Let's head on over to Scoop and check out Justin Sparrow and Kirk, Nevada. Thanks again for coming here and checking us out, hanging with us, chopping it up again. Another great show. If it wasn't for you guys, we would not have the show. So thank you all. We appreciate y'all and we love y'all.
Yeah, what boy? Before you say, Sean, DK1, yes, he has that problem, but that's because of the fact that he never got developed properly. Okay, like it goes back to what I just put on the screen. Yes, Justin has that problem, but it's because of where he's gotten developed until he gets up to a place that can develop him. Because he didn't have that problem at Ohio State entirely. Like he had that problem at times, but Ryan Day was the perfect coach to get him out of it. He ain't got that now. So again, once me and Sean, if y'all want to start talking more about NFL, we could dig deep into how, especially when it comes to Justin Fields stuff, more about it. So,
Well, everybody, you have a great night. Thanks again for helping me, TG. For everybody in the audience, thank you again.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you next Thursday. So, OH.
Oh.
Peace out.